Good afternoon. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show with Truth Matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 2 p.m. on the Eastern time zones. I get to ride on with you in the afternoon. It's always so much fun to be with you. I appreciate you listening and watching us every single day. You can find us syndicated on Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. You can also find us on all the social media sites, including facebook.com/DFiesel, YouTube, MeWe. If it's social media, we're doing it. Continue sending emails. Donna at donnasedge.com. Donna at donnasedge.com. So you're asking for more cooking tips, and I found a real good one right here. This is from a website. It's called soulkitchen.com, soulkitchen.com, S-O-U-L, kitchen.com. Some good ideas for beginners and for the rest of us too, by the way. But I wanted to start off with cooking meat. So a lot of you are not cooking, say, bacon or particular kinds of meat like sausage and hamburgers and that kind of thing, just for the sake of it, because sometimes when it splatters on you, it does cause a burn. Well, I've got a good tip for you. I found this on social media several years ago, and it was about bacon. And when you put the bacon down there, you'll put some water in there, and that way it doesn't cause burns and it doesn't cause grease to pop out on you. So I got to thinking about that. That does work. But does it work for sausage? Does it work for making sloppy joes or something like that? And it does. So I'm going to show you just really, really quick videos, and then we'll get into more grit about how to cook safely. Okay, just wanted to share something with you. Sometimes when you're cooking meat, and I love cooking my skillet. Now, that's my favorite way to cook. But sometimes, even though you condition the skillet, the meat will stick. And that's whether it's a steak or, in this case, this is sausage. You're going to have some kind of a pasta meal with it. And I'm going to show you something really quick you can do, and you don't have to worry with it sticking. All you have to do is add just a little bit of water. Okay, see this? That's all there is. Just a tiny, tiny bit of water, and put it in the middle of the skillet. Just in the middle, right there, where everything is. Now, depending on how hot the skillet is, it could, come back and bite you a little bit, but I promise you that water is going to evaporate, and you're not going to have any sticking in the skillet. It's quick. And it definitely works. Again, two things right there. First of all, the skillet is not going to be so hard to wash, and it doesn't pop out at you. And I've had burns before where it pop. Let's show you another video. It's really quick. So I'm not sure if you can see this, but I wanted to go ahead and show you what I was talking about. Nothing is sticking. Isn't that amazing? And the water you see in there is not going to affect the meat whatsoever. That's going to evaporate as it's cooking down. And if you see it sticking just a little bit more, all you got to do, add a little bit more water. Let it cook down, let it evaporate. No sticking in the skillet. Something else you can do, if you're going to make a pasta dish with this and you have maybe some leftover like tomato juice or something like that, thin it down just a little bit just for added flavor and pop a little bit of that in there as well. You'll have even more flavor, but water works just fine. I'll show you another one real quick. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what it looks like once the water evaporates. Take a look at this. No stickiness. Nothing at the bottom of that pan. It's as clean as it can be. And all I did was use water. That's all I did. You can do the same thing. That way, no sticky residue. Pretty amazing. I'm for easy. I know we all work and we have things to do. Even if you're not working out in the garden, that's still working. And you're taking care of your kids or your grandkids, and you want to cook, and a lot of times people just, let's go grab a burger or something. You can cook these things at home, and it's not near as dreadful as you think. I'm going to show you one more video. Then we're going to get to the nitty gritty with some more tips, but I think you'll enjoy this. Look at the clean skillet. Okay, so now I'm draining the sausage. I want to get out all the grease that I possibly can, and it looks really good, but let me show you the skillet. Take a look at that. See how clean that is? And it's all because I used water instead of non-stick spray. And I think that turned out really good. And guess what? Less food waste. How many times have you had a skillet full of meat that you cooked and it just was, it's a waste. So there you go. Cleaner skillet. It won't take long to clean this up. And by the way, never use soap on your skillets when you're cleaning them. That'll keep them conditioned forever. Now, I'm into non-stick spray. I think it's great when you're baking cakes and that kind of thing. But even at that, I would much rather use some butter and get a little bit of flour or maybe even confectionery sugar. And that way you don't have the sticky residue that's just on there sometimes. Now, I will tell you this. The best cooking spray that I have used is actually the store brand at Walmart. And it does a lot better. It doesn't collect that residue like normal cooking sprays, and even the more expensive sprays do. But take care of that skillet, and it's going to last you a lifetime. No, don't use any soap on it whatsoever. And again, water does the trick every single time. This whether you're frying a steak or you're cooking sausage. So that's going to work for you. Okay, I love this website. And so there are some tips for beginners and for the rest of us. I'm always learning, but I wanted to tell you, first of all, 3 of the basic recipe tips. Okay, this is how to get that kitchen and get in there, get it done, so you can relax for the rest of the evening, spend time with your family. Organize your kitchen. Oh yeah, now this is why I don't let anybody in my kitchen. Okay, because it's where I can find it. And another thing is I'm left-handed, so where I may place some of my utensils or whatever could be a little different than someone who's right-handed. Do it. So again, that's Donna's kitchen. I don't want anybody in there, but organize the kitchen. Since you are new to cooking, maybe you may not be familiar with different tools and utensils. There's a chance the kitchen could be more organized. And again, if it's organized, it's not going to take you as long to cook. Take a few minutes to go through the kitchen and place similar items together so you can easily access them when you needed them. Think about a surgeon. Okay, so he's in the operating room and he has his tools. He has an assistant who can give him the tools. And it's got to be the right tool. It's got to be in the right order, and it's got to be persistent. Okay, so same thing with cooking. Cooking is a science. Think about it that way. That's how you can get your kids to cook. Tell them it's a science. They'll love it. Clean the kitchen. Now, once the kitchen is organized, give it a good clean. Cleaning the kitchen before cooking may seem like, oh, what am I doing that for? It's counterintuitive. No, it's not. If you're more organized, you're cooking in a clean and a clutter-free environment, and it's just easier on you. Empty the dishwasher if you use that, and also scrub the sink and clean the surfaces so that you have a fresh environment when you start cooking. It's really important, especially if you're cutting vegetables, say, and you've got your cutting board and you've got the knife out there, and let's say you're going to make a salad. Okay, chef salad, and you've got some cucumbers out there, and one falls in the sink. It doesn't feel so dirty. I don't feel like I've got to throw that cucumber away. All I've got to do is it's in a clean sink, but I still want to rinse it and then put it back on there. Okay, get comfortable. Now, when you start cooking, recipes may take you a bit longer, can be a little bit messy, so ditch the office wardrobe. I change clothes immediately. As soon as I'm finished taping and I start cooking, I change clothes. And then, something you're not going to mind accidentally spilling something on. You can also wear an apron to try, and that also avoids stains. Now, here are 9 easy cooking tips. And then we'll get a little bit more detail about those as well. Read the entire recipe. Yeah, I've not read the entire recipe before if it's something new I'm cooking and it comes back to bite me. Okay, you need to know about everything before you place it in there. Make notes while you cook. If you get your own recipe, maybe you got a recipe book, it's your recipe book. Write notes in it if you want to. Season and taste test while you're cooking with a clean spoon. Everything, don't double dip. Please don't do that. Substitute items when it's necessary. Pay attention to your cook's food's consistency. That's extremely important. We're going to get more detail about that. Improvise while cooking, but not baking. And there's a reason for that. Don't be afraid to try new things. Oh, yeah, try new things. Cook what you know for guests and trust yourself. That's the biggest thing. If you're afraid to jump in there, afraid you're going to make a mess, you'll never cook. So just jump in there. And that's what I've told people before. You think I came out out of my mother's womb knowing how to bake biscuits? No, I didn't. It took some trying. It took some making mistakes, those kinds of things. And you can do the same thing. Okay, the number one is do read the entire recipe, because first of all, if I write a recipe down for you, I may forget something and kind of jumble it up, the steps a little bit. So just make sure you read the whole thing so that it makes sense to you. To familiarize yourself with the dish and increase your confidence, read the entire recipe. First, you can just kind of skim the recipe. That's just what I do. But if you do that, you may overlook some important steps. So please take as much time as you can, especially if it's around the holidays. Okay, make sure you know what you're doing, because you don't want to make a mistake then. Mother-in-law might come over, you know what I mean? Remember to read the full ingredient list as well. It's important to know what you'll need to pick up from the store and what's already sitting in the fridge, the freezer, and the cupboards. What if you need, say you're going to make squash casserole or something, and you thought you had the squash, and somebody used the squash and put it in a salad? You don't have the squash. It's going to mess up the whole recipe. So make sure you know what you've got and go through the recipe with the ingredients before you start cooking. Once you read the recipe from top to bottom and gathered all the ingredients, then you're ready to start cooking. If you're reading a recipe online, you can even venture into the comments, and sometimes people will give you can look at their comments. I've heard people say, let's say for a particular pie recipe, instead of using half stick of butter, I used a whole stick of butter. Or they can say for that really good pie crust, the recipe called for a stick of butter, but I used part lard and part butter. And the lard makes it a little flakier. So go on ahead and venture down in those comments also. And also remember the temperature requirements. Wherever you live, the temperature, like you may use a 350-degree oven, to bake a cake, but where you live, you may have to use 360-degree oven. So make sure you find comments along the sections, and could be somebody who lives close to you, and go by what they say, okay? Not somebody in a different part of the country. Okay, take notes while you cook. Oh, yeah. And I like to use a red ink pen to do that, so it just kind of sticks out, so I'll know, well, the recipe said to bake this cake for 30 minutes, but it actually took me 25 minutes. That can be the difference in the texture of your cake. And if you overcook it, it's going to be a little dry, so take notes, whatever works for you and whatever works for your oven too. Your oven can be totally different from the person who wrote the recipe. It could be totally different from their oven. And also you're using either gas or you're using electric. The recipe may not specify that the person baking the cake used a gas oven, and you've got an electric oven. So go ahead and take notes while you cook. One of the best tips for cooking new dishes is to take notes, according to the author. Cooking with a recipe is a great place to start. But you will need to follow every step exactly as written. You won't have to do that. Make swaps if there's an ingredient you don't have on hand. Adjust the spices to the way you like it, depending again on your taste. And the more you play around, the more you get to know your taste. So it's a good idea to note those adjustments as you go. I've done that on a jelly recipe. I found out that there was one particular fruit that I used that I didn't have to use as much Sure Gel as I did with other fruits. And I went on ahead and made a note on that recipe as well. Even if you don't make changes, you can still take notes on it. Did you have to adjust the cooking time in the oven? Do you think it tastes better to add one or less amount of an ingredient? Did you discover a new favorite recipe that you want to cook again? Take notes on these, and the more to help your future self. Now, this is another good thing to do for your family when they're coming over. Let's say it's an out-of-town family, and they come over to the house, and you baked a cake, and everybody absolutely loves this cake. And they say, every single time I'm coming to your house, or you come over to my house, and you bring something, bring that cake. I would put notes on there. Susie loved my cake. So just put the name on there so you'll remember who liked it. Some people don't like chocolate. Maybe you baked a chocolate cake. Put a note on there that, chocolate cake is not Jane's favorite, so you can put little notes on there and it'll just help you out. Let's go into a commercial break and we'll return in just a few minutes. Queen City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring. But the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Because of your overwhelming support, our 1488 MyPillow has been one of the biggest sales in MyPillow history. I couldn't think of a better way to say thank you than to extend our wholesale pricing through Christmas. Get a classic standard MyPillow for only $14.88. Upgrade to a queen size, just $18.88. King size, only $1 more. Get my body pillows for only $29.88. And ready? Multi-use MyPillows, only $9.88. It's perfect time to stock up for Christmas gifts for everyone on your list. Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our wholesale pricing. Including my classic standard MyPillow is only $14.88. But that's not all. I'm so confident you're going to love our classic MyPillows that I'm going to extend my 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, orders over $75 ship absolutely free.
The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462. We're back. Okay, we have tips for first-time cookers or the rest of us. Okay, we can always learn, right? Okay, now number 3 is season and taste while you're cooking. That really is important. Now, we'll say this, when I'm cooking beans, maybe dried beans, that kind of thing, it's always best to salt those beans after you've cooked them. Okay, so go ahead and salt those like right before you serve those because the salt sometimes can harden the bean just a little bit. And so I just found that works better for me. And then I've got that note, see, on my note cards. Okay, season and taste while you're cooking. This is what the author says. Taste testing the dish as you cook is one of the most critical steps to remember. It's also one of the most fun cooking recipes tips. So if you don't try it as you go, how are you going to know that it tastes good? Okay, also goes on to say you don't want to wait until the dish is finished to do the first test. Try to do this throughout the cooking process. That way you can season and adjust the ingredients accordingly. Maybe you could use a little more salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic, or sugar. The only way you're going to know this is to taste away. And by the way, the amount of sugar you use in a dish varies to the time of the year. It really does. You'll use a little bit less in the summertime than you would in the wintertime. I don't know why it works that way, but that's the science of it. Okay, substitute items when necessary is number 4. So experiencing and experimenting with ingredients is part of the fun of cooking. In fact, there may be times when substitutes are necessary. If there's an expensive or obscure ingredient on the list, you can usually find a more affordable and tastier alternative. Now, let me tell you what you can do. Let's say the recipe calls for buttermilk, okay, and you don't have buttermilk. I'll tell you what you can do really, really fast. So super, super quick to do this. First thing you want to do is add a tablespoon of either vinegar or of lemon juice. Okay, put that first. And the reason I'm saying that is it really alters the taste and the way the buttermilk looks. If you add the milk first, then put the added ingredient in there, whether that be vinegar or lemon juice, it's going to really change the way it looks. So go on ahead and put the vinegar or the lemon juice first. 1 tablespoon to 1 cup of milk, and preferably whole milk, okay, because that makes a huge difference as well. So go on ahead and finish up the cup. Let's say the recipe calls for 1 cup of buttermilk. Put that tablespoon of your lemon juice or whatever you're going to put in there, then fill up the rest of it up with milk. So that does 2 different things. First of all, if I do the milk and I do a cup and then I add the tablespoon, I'm adding more moisture when I probably don't need to. So there's another reason you want to do that as well. Now, pre-cooked chicken or beef can be great substitutes for pricier meat cuts. And that's another thing you could substitute. Yet they don't compromise value, nutritional value, or the flavor. They're also an excellent time saver if you need a quick, easy dinner for yourself and your family. Now, one thing I like to do is cook a whole chicken, and then whatever we don't eat, I'll go ahead and debone, or if I've just made a lot of chicken breast and I've done it in the deep fryer or whatever we don't eat, quickly, as soon as the meal is over, I'm going to go ahead and chop that up, and I'm going to put it in good freezer bags. And I'm going to lay it flat. That way, if I'm not going to use, like I want a chicken salad sandwich, for instance, let's say, then all I've got to do is just kind of break that up and I'm done. Okay, number 5 is pay attention to the food's consistency. You absolutely want to do that. There's a difference in, say, making pancakes and the way that looks, the consistency, biscuits, and even pie. And cakes, they all have a different consistency. Now, besides flavor, texture can also make or break a recipe. Many people find that a dish doesn't turn out as expected. It often has to do with consistency, so pay close attention to the texture as you cook. For example, the chicken may dry out if you cook it too long. Now, if the chicken looks dry, consider adding some chicken broth, and if the cookie dough is rock hard and difficult to scoop out, try adding a splash of milk. Now, I'm saying a splash. You want to use a little bit at a time. And I've heard a lot of talk show hosts talk about this. A lot of chefs will say, you can always put more in, but you can't take it out. That is true. Okay, so a sauce with noticeable lumps could just need a good whisking. Yeah, and that's what I do too. When I'm making gravy, I use my little whisker thing that I've got, and I'll just kind of whisk it up. And the same thing when you're making omelets, do that. If you're adding, say, a little bit of milk to that omelet, it's a good idea to do that. Number 6, improvise while cooking, but not while baking. Now, let's find out what they mean. This is a new one for me, so let's find out what that means. It's fun to get creative while cooking on the stovetop, but baking is more of an exact science. I get that. We mentioned earlier that you can substitute items when cooking, but we don't recommend experimenting with baked recipes until you've had more experience under the belt. I get that. Baked goods require certain measurements of ingredients that influence moisture, consistency, and either whether it's supposed to be level or it rises. Now, when it comes to bread, cookies, cakes, or other baked goods, follow the recipe precisely. You may be able to use baking powder instead of baking soda, but you'll need to adjust the quantities, and you'll need to know what that is. Okay, now don't be afraid to try new things. Okay, I'm just talking to you. I'll just jump in there and do it. If it works, it doesn't. If it doesn't, I find out why it didn't work, and I take notes again on the recipe card. Okay, while you should be start out by cooking dishes you like, don't be afraid to branch out as well. Doing so can help you discover new favorite recipes. You know that what you and your family like, so try recipes that match these preferences, but include a little variation. I'm going to tell you something. Salads, a lot of people don't put nuts, pecans, peanuts, whatever in those. I do. I love nuts in them, and Phil loves them especially better. And you're adding a little extra protein in there as well. Okay, if you have frozen beef or chicken on hand, tacos may be a meal that comes to mind. However, instead of traditional tacos, why not spice them up a little bit? You could do little chicken taco pinwheels. You can do taco stuffed bell peppers. Just try new fillings and recipes to liven up dinner time. If it comes to your mind, try it. What can the family say? No, don't do that again. Well, then you'll know not to do it again. Cook what you know for guests. Okay, don't try new recipes if you got like your new mother-in-law coming over. Just don't try that. Do what you know to do, okay, and then go up to that. Trying this recipes is ideal when cooking for yourself or for your immediate family, but sticking to familiar recipes is typically best when cooking for guests. Okay, when you cook a dish for the first time, you can't predict exactly how it's going to taste or how much time you're going to need to prep it. And that's another big thing. Dinner could be late, because you didn't prep it enough, give enough time for prepping. So it's likely better to serve something you've made a few times to the dinner guest. It makes meal prep more of a breeze, and you'll know the dish is going to turn out well. In the meantime, work on mastering new recipes on your own so that you can make them for guests when they come in the future. Now, trust yourself. This is extremely important. Okay, least but not least, it's important to trust your gut when cooking. If it just doesn't look right, if something just seems to be off just a little bit, maybe it's just a little too thick, you think, I've got to add a little more liquid, go for it. You need to do that. It probably is right, but again, the different time of the year, if you got more humidity, you use more or less of an ingredient. That's just the way it goes. That's the way we swing. Okay, but there may be millions of recipes out there, but remember that each person has their own idea of what sounds and tastes better, right? So even if you're a beginner, follow your instincts and address them when possible. You know more than you think you do. It'll start kicking in and you'll be a chef before you know it. I've got real quick 5 money-saving tips for beginner cooks. Buy in bulk. It'll save you in the long run. You can always use a freezer and put the extra in the freezer to use, and put it in smaller bags, by the way, so that you don't have to use the whole thing. Like bacon, when it's on sale, grab it while it's on sale. Cook what you want and then cut it up and then put it in different bags, and then you got it for later on. You're not wasting anything. Shop the specials. Oh, yeah. Go to the local grocery store specials. Plan your weekly meals around what's on sale, and stock on items that you often use. Meal prep. Okay, how can you save money on that? Meal prepping helps you use ingredients before they go to waste. That's incredibly important. Cook with friends. You can learn from your friends. Those are great things to do. And they'll tell you how they save money on particular things, and you can help them out too. So buy fully cooked protein options. In addition to being more affordable than pricier cuts, pre-cooked protein options have many benefits. They save you time, minimize waste, they're longer lasting, and they are beginner friendly. Okay, now once you get the cooking under your skin and you know what you're doing, I'd buy it in bulk. Buy hamburger meat in bulk, whatever you need to do, and you'll have it on hand. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Donna, and I'm so glad that you watched Donna's Edge today.